Hi everybody, this video is to give you an overview of the syllabus and Canvas. And most importantly, it's to give you an opportunity to know in advance what will be expected of us in this course as far as our learning objectives and student learning outcomes, but also as far as assignments, quizzes, and exams and when those will be due, how the grading scale works, and then how to navigate through the Canvas course and find things as you go from module to module week after week. So inevitably these videos always run longer than I intend them to. I'm going to try to make this as short and to the point as possible, but it's all really important information to set you up for success. So I don't want to cheat you by skipping over things or moving too quickly. So I'll try to cover as much as I can as quick as I can. Let's start with an overview of Canvas, and then I'll go into an overview of the syllabus. So here we are on the home page of our course. Up at the top, you see this class discussion board that I've called the coffee shop. This is going to be open to you throughout the duration of this semester, and I encourage you to use this. Anytime you have any questions that are content related or assignment related, this is a great place to post your question because it gives your peers an opportunity to add their feedback or their thoughts or their answers, and then I'll check it periodically and can answer those questions for you in more of a public forum. Because if you have a question, there's a good chance one of your classmates has a question as well. And this gives us an opportunity to have a hub, somewhere where we can go and see some general conversations and questions regarding the course and the content. It doesn't have to be a question, by the way. You can click in here just to share your thoughts. If something really struck you from a certain subject area, something that we were studying any week, or a certain assignment, a certain document that we looked at, this is a great place to just add your thoughts as well. Again, the point of this is just to have one more place where we can connect. That's one of the challenges of an online course is we don't have that face-to-face interaction with our peers. And so even though we still don't get the face-to-face aspect, we can still have that regular interaction. And it's really important for establishing a learning community, but also just for our learning experience, having those meaningful interactions with our peers and engaging each other while engaging the content. So this is a great place to, again, ask questions or post your thoughts regarding the course or the content or any of the assignments and so on and so forth. All right, so that's the coffee shop. Again, that's open all semester. Then in this first module here, it's a welcome module. So I have a video introducing myself. I have a course overview video. I have I have our syllabus here posted. I have the first chapter of the textbook, and you're still going to need to get your own copy of the textbook. Just for copyright rules, I can't post every single chapter, but I know that there's a little bit of a delay in getting the textbook in the first week of the course. So that's why I posted that here, and I sent out an announcement about that. So hopefully you'd already received that. This syllabus and Canvas overview is where you found this video, or where you can find this video, which I have sent to you through an announcement as well. And then we're ready to get started. Now, the first module you'll come into after the welcome module is this module about the research paper. And I highly encourage you to start looking at this module right out of the gates. I've scaffolded this assignment into 3 steps to allow you to work on it in stages so that it's not all of a sudden upon you with a due date and you haven't even started. This kind of gives you the incentive and the structure to start chipping away at it step by step. So I'm going to go through this in depth really quickly, again, as quickly as I can, but I want you to know what to expect as far as this research paper so you can start working ahead on it. All right, so this first page is going to walk you through basically each step, the goals of this research project, what you need to accomplish in each step, and what those due dates are. So let's just talk about the steps really quickly. Step 1 is you're going to choose your topic. I give you 3 topics to choose from, and you need to choose one of those 3 topics. It just makes it easier for us to collaborate and for me to set up some collaborative exchanges about your topic with other people who chose your same topic, and give you again the sources that you need and the structure you need to be able to do this as easily as possible, but still accomplish all of our goals that we're going to be working toward in this project. So step one, you choose your topic, one of the three that I've given you. You create a bibliography for the sources that I've given you for that particular topic. Okay, just kind of keep these in mind. I'm going to let you look at one example here shortly of step one, or what you'll need to do in step one. And author biographies. These author biographies are going to be short and to the point, 3 to 5 sentences. Okay, and all I want you to do is tell me basically why this author is an authoritative source on the topic you chose. Why should we, read their source and give them the time of day? So I don't need to know that they live in Connecticut with a wife and 2 kids and a dog. I need to know what they've studied, what their area of expertise is, where they receive their education, where they currently work, what else they've published, that type of thing. Why are they an expert in this area, and therefore why are we giving them time in our paper, reading their source, analyzing their source, and discussing their source in our paper? The point of this is to vet sources. We should always know where our information is coming from. We live in an information age where we're receiving information from left and right and front and back through social media and through various outlets, and often we don't really know who's creating that information, what their agenda is, what their area of expertise is, and whether or not we should be giving them the time of day. So vetting sources is more important now than ever before, and so that's why I just want short, easy 3 to 5 sentence paragraphs summing up who this author is, each author is, as far as their academic and professional background. All right, so keep step one in mind. Again, I'll go into a topic and kind of show you what you're going to be looking for. But I have some examples here. An example of an author biography, an example of a bibliographical citation, and I want you to use this link here to understand the Chicago style rules for a bibliography entry. Okay, so if it's a book by one author, you're going to do the bibliography entry in this format. If it's and I should say one, or I guess it could be multiple authors, but like in this case, but essentially it's not an edited book of a bunch of different authors. That would be this. If it's a chapter from an edited book, here's the bibliography entry you want to use. So just find the type of source it is, and then look at the bibliography entry example and just kind of follow that guide. All right, so that's the link I'd like you to use so we're all consistent. And then step 2 is the next phase of this research project. So step 1's due on February 8th. Step 2 is due on February 29th. Step 1's worth 10 points. Step 2 is worth 20 points. All right, now step 2 might look like it's not as important as step 3, because step 3 is worth 70 points. But I'll tell you this, if you do a great job on step 2, step 3 will basically write itself. This is probably the most important step, because not only does it allow you to map out your paper and have all of your notes organized, and you need to have read all of your sources in depth and taken good notes to accomplish step 2, but it also allows me to see how well you're doing so that I can give you some corrective guidance if necessary before you get to step 3. So this is so important. So keep your eye on the ball here and make sure that you've chosen your topic, that you understand the prompt for your topic's paper, and that you are reading your sources with those prompt questions in mind, so that you take notes relative to the topic prompt. Okay, If you complete this step well, you'll have an idea of where you're going to head with this paper, how you're going to write it, how you're going to structure it. So you'll be able to write your introductory paragraph that sets the tone for your whole paper. You'll be able to give it a title, or at least a working title, a generic title by this point, because again, you'll know what you're going to be writing about. And then you'll have an outline, different sections for each source that have detailed bullet point notes related to your topic prompt. And those different outline sections will just turn into paragraphs. So that's why I'm saying this will basically write itself if you have all of the information and you already know where you're heading in step 2. So don't sleep on step 2. Step 2 is as important as step 3, even though the point values are different. Because again, if you do excellent work here, you will do excellent work here, I assure you. All right, and the final paper is due 3/21. All right, so that's an overview of the research paper. Let's get back out of here. Let's look at one example of a topic. So let's say you chose topic 1. Okay, here are the 3 sources that I've given you and all the information you need to complete the bibliography entry for each one. So what you just need to do is put it in the right format, put it in the right order, okay? Because that's the only thing I haven't done here. But I've given you everything else you need. So when you use that Chicago style guide, you'll be able to just get an example and start plugging this information into the right place, all right? Here is the prompt for topic 1. So this is what you need to accomplish and answer in your paper if this is the one you choose. You have to understand these, have a good understanding of what the prompt is before you start reading your sources. It's the only way you'll read them intentionally with a good idea of what notes you should be extrapolating from each source so that you can answer these questions and include an analysis of each source and a comparison between the sources. So, for example, these articles offer opposing views of the American Revolution. One point of view claims that the American Revolution was a conservative movement because it did not fundamentally change the nature of American society. The opposing view states that the revolution did create profound changes in American society and politics and was therefore radical. So once you read these different points of view, where are you going to land? Do you think it was conservative? Do you think it was radical? Who gave the most persuasive viewpoint? So again, which authors present the view that it was conservative, which present the view that it was radical and brought profound changes to American society. You're going to discuss each author's viewpoint. That's so important. No matter what topic you choose, you need to provide a detailed analysis of every one of your sources. You can't just, pick and choose a couple of sources. You need to analyze every one of your sources. Evaluate the evidence and information each author provides to support his or her viewpoint. And that's important. So not only should we be able to understand what they're saying, but how they're supporting their viewpoint. Identify strengths and weaknesses in each article and determine which article, based on its logic, evidence, and clarity, provides the most persuasive view of the topic. All right, so now once you're armed with this and you know what to expect here, you can start reading your sources and looking to answer these questions and taking notes to help you write up your paper and answer those questions effectively. All right, but again, this is where you find your sources for your bibliography in step 1. This is where you find your authors to Google and find their academic and professional profiles and create 3 to 5 sentence biographies for each author. Okay, so this is where you're going to find everything you need for step 1. And this is what you need to know heading into step 2. Let's take a look at step 2, our sources for the topic. So once you've chosen your topic, now you can go into your sources. And those 3 sources that I had listed for topic 1 are going to be included in here. Now be heads up. This is why I want you working towards step 2 as early and often as possible. There's quite a bit of reading. Like there are 30 pages in here, but look, these are 2 pages per page. So in a lot of cases, there are really 60 pages of reading that you need to get through. So this is a lot of extra reading in addition to our regular reading that we're doing each week out of the textbook and for our source analyses, right? Our source analysis assignments. So it's extra work. It's a lot of work if you let it pile up on yourself and don't get a head start on it. So please go in here, look at the different topics, really read through the prompt, choose the topic that interests you the most: the American Revolution, views on the Mexican-American War and the American conquest in the Southwest, or who freed the slaves. Was it Lincoln? Was it the Union Army? Was it the slaves? Was it a combination of all three? These are the types of questions that you're going to be looking to answer, and that these different sources are attempting to answer, and you're going to analyze them and determine which viewpoint you think is the most effective, or which viewpoints. It could be a combination of the sources that you find to be the most effective. All right. So this is where you find your topics. This is where you find your sources for each topic. Step 2 due by 2/29, and then your final paper by 3/21. We'll talk more about it as it approaches. And then each week you're going to find your weekly modules. Okay. And in these modules, you're going to have a welcome page that's going to often have a video, but not always. And you're going to have basically your list of assignments and due dates for the week. All right. So that's how each module will be structured. And then you're going to have what is actually due that week. Now, sometimes I'll also include some supporting videos, and those aren't mandatory watches unless I say that you need to watch this video for your assignment this week. And I have, an instance of that, if not a couple of instances. But otherwise, they're just supporting videos. They're just there to give you some video content, another means of representation, so that you can, use that to support your learning. All right. But you'll just kind of go through here, and at the end of each week, after our assignment is turned in, I'll produce an assignment recap for you. Sometimes in video, sometimes it may be just written, but that will give you an opportunity to view the recap, so that I can share my thoughts with you, and you can kind of see, if it supplements what you were seeing or gives you a different point of view, a different perspective. All right. So that's how each module plays out week after week. All right. If you have any questions on that, that would be a good thing to post in the coffee shop, because again, you might not be alone, and I can answer your question in there. And then anyone who has that same question can get an answer. Let's take a look at the syllabus. All right. Now, this is going to be some really important information. It's extensive, so I'm going to just kind of glide over some areas, even though they're important. I'll just tell you, I want you to be looking at them in depth. For example, these course learning objectives, very important. Upon satisfactory completion of this course, the student will be able to, boom, all of these things. So these are going to be incorporated into our weekly assignments and into our quizzes and exams. So be looking at these, have a good understanding of these course objectives. But these course or student learning outcomes, I will go through in detail. So by the end of this course, you should be able to demonstrate competency in each of these 3 areas. 1, demonstrate factual knowledge of key political, economic, social, and cultural events and issues in the history of the United States to 1877. And we will accomplish that through our weekly assignments, but also the competency for this one is going to be highly demonstrated in our quizzes and exams. All right, factual knowledge. Now, when we get to more of the critical thinking aspect of evaluating, analyzing, and interpreting primary and secondary historical sources, and then making historical arguments based on these sources, and applying critical thinking, including causal analysis and skeptical inquiry to historical concepts and developments in the history of the U.S. to 1877. These are where our assignments and our research project come into play in a big way. So when we're analyzing primary and secondary sources, and I include a lot of primary sources in our weekly assignments, this is where you're going to demonstrate competency, is those assignments and the research paper, okay? Primary sources, for those of you who are confused, like what's a primary source, what's a secondary source? A primary source is any text created at or immediately around the time that we're studying. So if we're looking at, the Mexican-American War, and we're going to read a primary source, and we're going to be reading something from the 1840s or 1850s, okay, something right around the time that the Mexican-American War took place. If we're looking at our textbook, or we're reading one of those articles or book chapters that I included in topic number 2, which is on the Mexican-American War, those are secondary sources. These were written by historians much later, looking back on those events or that time period and writing about them. Okay, so that's the difference between primary and secondary. But again, for outcomes number 2 and 3, our weekly source analysis assignments and our research paper are going to be the places where we will demonstrate competency in these areas. Okay, analysis, interpretation, critical thinking, skeptical inquiry, those types of things. All right, I'm not going to go through these in detail, but again, I want you to look at them. These are things that I have identified as keys to success, ways that you can ensure that you will be as successful as possible and reach your goal in this class. Your grade goal, your learning goal, and you should be setting goals for yourself right out of the gates. But again, I won't dive into these in depth. I'll let you read through them. But these are things that I've picked up as an instructor and as a student that I find to be very beneficial if students keep these things in mind as they go through the course. All right. I do want to touch on this one, though. Get some extra help whenever you need it. Very important. Modesto Junior College provides great services and resources to students. And let me tell you, if you think that any of these could apply to you, then you're not alone. These exist because multiple students need to have access to these kinds of resources to support their success. So look into the services and programs that Modesto Junior College provides for our students and take advantage of them. Use them if you can and need to. All right, let's talk really briefly about plagiarism. This is really important. Okay, plagiarism is the deliberate adoption or reproduction of ideas, words, or statements of another person's as one's own without acknowledgement. This includes all group work and written assignments. Let me just explain that plagiarism is not limited to word-for-word copying. I say that because inevitably I have students each semester who copy something from an online source or from another student, and they'll just take a thesaurus and change a word here and change a word there and say, okay, now it's not word for word, so it's not plagiarism. And I have to explain to them, yes, that is still plagiarism. Even if you're taking the thoughts and ideas of someone without giving them credit, that is plagiarism. It'll earn a 0. It can lead to academic probation and other consequences. It's not worth it. So please only produce your own work. That doesn't mean you can't collaborate with other students, with your peers. In fact, I encourage that. I want that. But when it gets time to actually producing the work that you're going to turn in for your assignment, it needs to be identifiably your own work. All right, so please don't make the mistake of plagiarizing at any point in this course. All right, skipping ahead, grading structure. Here's how the course is going to break down as far as points. Here's how each category will be weighted essentially in this course, how many points are available throughout this semester in each of these categories: assignments, quizzes, research paper, midterm exam, and final exam. So here's how the point scale essentially breaks out from there. And then here is your course schedule. This is a course calendar that gives you a week-by-week glance at what topic / chapter from our textbook we'll be covering each week. So in week 1, we're covering chapter 1, A New World, Early Inhabitants and European Contact. And then here's the coursework we need to do. Okay, we need to complete our meet and greet. We need to add our first discussion post for our discussion assignment. We need to add our discussion response by the 18th. We need to read chapter 1 and chapter 2 of our textbook. Why? Because in week 2, we're covering chapter 2, and we're going to have our first quiz covering chapter 1 and chapter 2. All right. Now, our quizzes are almost always going to be due on Wednesday of each week. So it's important to be reading ahead. Can you use your textbook and your notes for your quizzes? Absolutely. But often these quizzes are going to be timed, which means you have to have already gone through the content, read through those chapters, so that you have a good idea of the information and know how to flip back through your notes and through the chapter to find answers quickly for any of the given questions. All right, our discussion posts for our source analysis assignments, which I've set up often as discussion assignments, are typically going to be due on Thursdays and Saturdays. Your initial analysis, your post, is due by Thursdays, and usually your peer response will be due by Saturdays. But each assignment will have details in it as well, as far as what the given due dates are for each aspect of the assignment. So you go through here, here's your work that's due that week, and then read chapter 3 for the following week. Again, always working ahead in our textbook so we're ready for that next quiz that comes up the following Wednesday. You'll see where your research paper steps are due, so keep an eye out for those. And then you'll see where your midterm and final exam are due as well. We do have one assignment that I'll call out just really briefly, which is called the Hometown History assignment. You can already start thinking about this, even though it's not due until the end of the semester or week 15, so the second to last week of the semester. But this is going to be an assignment that is completely chosen by you, an examination of a person or an entity or something from your own family or community that you identify historical significance in and want to tell that story. And I'll talk more about this as it gets a little bit closer. But be thinking about it. It might be a family heirloom that's been passed down, and where it came from, where it started, and where it's at now, and what it signifies, and the journey that it's taken, and the people who have had this family heirloom, and so on and so forth. It could be, I had one student write a story about a local boxing gym and boxing instructor, and where that boxing instructor came from, his backstory, and what he's meant to that community. And I give you different avenues for how you present this information. It could be video, it could be audio, it could be a written paper, but it gives you a chance to find the history around you in your family or in your community, and I guarantee you it's out there. You just got to go look for it and then highlight it. Find something fascinating, a story to tell about someone or something that you're connected to in some way. All right, so be thinking about that, even though it's still well ahead of us as far as the due date goes. And then at the end here, we just have more information again about the research paper. All right, so that is my long, extensive video giving you an overview of Canvas and the syllabus. Again, always longer than I would want these videos to be, but so much important information to set you up for success, so I don't want to shortchange you, and hopefully you made it all the way through the video. Here is my code word or code phrase for 5 points of extra credit. The code phrase is history is fun. All right, now that's probably not how most of you feel. You're just getting through this class because it's part of your requirements, but I think it's fun. I think it's fun to look at the past and to form those meaningful connections to our present and gain a better understanding of what the human experience has been like in the past, how it's shaped our present condition, and allow that to inform us about ourselves and about the people around us about the institutions around us and that type of thing. So I think history is fun. That's my message to you. If you send me an email saying history is fun, then I know you made it all the way through this video, which is worth giving you some points for. And so I'll give you 5 points extra credit to start out the semester. All right. So just send me an email with history is fun in it. It could even be just the subject of your email, and I will award you 5 points extra credit. All right. Thanks for watching, and let's have a great semester.